Come correct or don't come at all.
This is the Hartzog Hustle Podcast.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And we're talking about the hustle, strategy, and mindset you need to win in the areas of your finance, your purpose, and your future.
Know what I'm saying?
If you have heart and you want to learn how to activate the power of your hustle, then this is the podcast for you, baby. For you, baby.
Congratulations.
And now, your hosts, Anthony and Janilka Hartzog.
This is how it should be done.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Hartzog Hustle Podcast. We appreciate you guys being here. My name is Anthony, and I am joined here by the one and only Mrs. Hartzog Hustle herself.
Nice to see everyone again. Hopefully you're rating, commenting, subscribing, and all of the above.
Yes.
Sharing, downloading.
I do want to give a shout out. We're going to start doing reviews of the week. How about that?
What's your shout out?
So Ayana, she has shot us a text and she said, listen, I've been listening to you guys' podcast. I left it a review, but I just want to give you a huge shout out. Why'd she say that again?
For staying on topic.
Staying on topic. So that's one of the things we try to do here. Sometimes we get off topic.
Yeah.
But you never know. Again, if you guys are listening, please rate, subscribe, review. These episodes drop on YouTube and
every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Central.
At 8 a.m. Central. All right. So we finally got caught up. On Money Heist. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
So Money Heist,
quick breakdown of it.
It's a show on Netflix. We had never watched it before. I know it's been airing for years, but last season finally came out. And we were like, all right, let's just watch it. And so we binged the whole 5 seasons.
We had nothing to do during that time. And that's normally we get caught up on TV shows.
That's when we binge. I'll be ready to watch shows, but he, on the other hand, don't want to do it. So that's when we binge and we watch Money Heist. And to summarize it quickly, it's about them robbing a bank, okay? Because I don't know if everybody watch or like, don't tell me the details, but it's about them robbing a bank.
It's a little bit more about robbing a bank. It's about a group of criminals, and they are continuing to go above and beyond their means to do other things.
I don't know if anybody would describe it that way.
Without me giving too many details.
Yeah.
There's a group of criminals, and they always have a task at hand, and they complete that task, and it's always another task.
Yeah, but when I said that it was about them robbing a bank, it's not really even. They're not robbing it for money for them to keep. This is more. It's a bigger meaning.
Generational. They talking about the money they're talking about is billions of dollars. So they're robbing the Federal Reserve. They're robbing the Mint in Spain or something like that. So
it's based in
these are Federal Reserve banks. So they're not robbing your Bank of America around the block. They are robbing multi-billion-dollar businesses, corporations.
Yeah.
And the whole show was interesting. Number one, the show itself could be a podcast in itself, but the reason we're talking about this is because there was a character on the show that had a task to complete. I don't want to give too much without.
You can say, it's not a big deal.
So she had a goal. She had a boyfriend, right? And she kept saying like, I want to do bigger and better things. So
she originally was robbing banks with her boyfriend.
I was literally saying that.
Oh yeah?
Oh, sorry. I was literally saying that. So her original goal, her and her boyfriend, they just robbed like local mom and pop shops. Mm-hmm. And the goals kept getting bigger. And her boyfriend realized that she wasn't happy with the goals that they were setting as a couple. Mm-hmm. So the goals kept getting bigger and bigger up to the point where they decided he said, I'm going to give you the goal you want. I know you want to rob a bank. This is not the $1 billion bank. This is just the mom and pop bank, like the Bank of America around the corner or Capital One, whatever you choose. And they did that goal, and he ended up getting killed. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't enough for her after he got killed. So
she had some anger in her because of it.
She definitely has some anger in her. So that's what we're talking about today. When is it enough?
When is it enough? We started with Money Heist. So you'll probably be like, they about to rob a bank? What y'all about to do? No. But, we speak about you set goals, you reach them, and then it's not enough. Why is it not enough? What is the end goal? Where does it end? I don't know if by the end of the podcast we won't have a straight answer for you. No. But it's an ongoing question that we have because when we reach our goals, we're like, all right, what's next? Even in our household, and we're like, why isn't that enough? Like, let's stay here for a few years. Mm-hmm. I relate it back to what I think about is like when you be at the gym. For those of you that work out, your goal keeps going up. Like, okay, I want to bench press or squat 145 pounds or 140 pounds. Then when you do it, it's like, I want to do 150. I want to do 160. Like you keep trying to push yourself to limits, which is, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Until you hurt yourself, which is what happened to him. He died. You keep pushing yourself until you hurt yourself, and then you're like, I shouldn't have done that.
Maybe.
That happened. That literally, speaking of the gym, that happened to me when I was deadlifting. I don't know if you guys know, 3 plates is like 315. You ever seen like 3 plates
On each side.
On each side.
Okay.
And that was the most I've ever gotten to, was 3 plates. And I know that the deadlift exercise in itself is very dangerous if not done correctly. And if you go too high, it could be detrimental to your form, and you end up hurting yourself. And I literally ended up
With a
getting herniated disc, 2 herniated discs, because I got to 315 and I lifted it up and I said, crap, I felt it immediately. And that goal was I don't know if that was the end goal, but I kept pushing myself to the point where I no longer deadlift, because it's not an exercise to do. But
And then I guess, like you said, in regards to hurting yourself, you hurt yourself in different ways: physically, mentally, financially, all these type of things. But I think with the way a lot of right now, at least with our businesses, is usually like a financial goal or impact goal that we want, right?
Yeah.
But then when I was thinking about it, this topic before we came on, I'm like, certain goals you stop at, right? So for example, I got my master's and I stopped. That was the end. For some people, they want more and they go on to do a PhD and stuff like that. I was like, so certain goals you do stop at, but then there's others that continue to evolve. But it's like, when do you decipher if it's a good thing or it's too much? That's the biggest thing. Well,
at one point, you did want your PhD.
Yeah, but that ended.
When you were thinking about opening up your own private practice, you said,
not for PhD, though.
I don't know, what is a PhD used for in your field?
PhD is used for in my field just to become a professor.
Okay.
I can open my own practice right now with my master's, so I don't need a PhD.
So why did you want a PhD at the time?
I said to become a professor.
You want to teach?
Maybe at some point.
So you potentially wanted to pursue a PhD because that would have been the obvious next goal for you.
That would have been the next step. Yeah, when in my field, I'm a mental health therapist, so after master's would be a PhD. Correct.
But then you realized that was something you didn't want to do, and you decided to against it.
Yeah, and I just
didn't want to pursue it.
Exactly.
But what made you say like enough is enough?
Life probably. I probably just didn't want to go back to school. I mean, because I did my master's back to back right after bachelor's. I didn't take a break is what I mean.
Yeah.
So once you take a break, going back to school is very difficult, and then you reassess, like, do I need it?
Yeah.
And that was the other thing. It was like, oh, I can open my own practice without having a PhD, then maybe I don't need to go, which I never did that either, but I don't need to go as far.
So you reassessed where you were and said, where I am now is perfectly comfortable, and I don't need to go further.
And even more, where I am now is I don't need to go any further.
So when you're talking about entrepreneurship and businesses, why don't most of the time people have those same goals? 'Cause I was reading a thread, and they talked about this person who did their best year, and the next year they lost money. I think you read that same thread. Mm-hmm. So the next year they lost money because they wanted to grow and scale too fast because they knew there were bigger goals. Mm-hmm. So at what point, what makes you say, all right, that's enough for me? Or is there ever
until
enough?
you get hurt?
Till you get hurt. So let's say, let's say getting hurt in business is either the business failing or you having that next year where it's kind of completely, like, let's say you did $1 million in this year and next year you do, I don't know, 400,000. Mm-hmm. Is that you getting hurt? Do you say this is enough at this point?
That's you getting hurt financially, but I guess that also helps you to reassess your goals then.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the same goal anymore. Now you reassess, because that was something that I saw too, that maybe that goal no longer fits your life.
Yeah.
Maybe that goal is too big. Maybe it's too small, whatever the case may be. Maybe it no longer fits your life. And then that's when you reassess and say, I'm going to go this route. But I think about it like the bigger companies, I would love to be sitting on the boards to know, like, what is target goals? Like, what goals do they set every year? Do they set the same goals? Do they just say, like, well, we just need to make it to where we did last year because year before was a pandemic, or we're in a pandemic? Like, what do bigger companies do? I have no idea. That's actually a really good question.
They do earning reports.
It's just based off of money?
Yeah, based off of money. So if they say, all right, this quarter we did, I don't know, $1 million, a couple $1 million. Mm-hmm. Next year we are projected to do this based off, I have this revenue projection for this quarter based off of these numbers.
Got it.
So that's kind of how they do it. If they hit those numbers, then great. If they don't, their stock plummets.
Oh, it's all about stock. It's all about the money. They have to have other goals outside of money.
I'm sure they do.
We just don't know about it.
I mean, different levels. I mean, at that level, we're talking about like how do they grow? It's revenue based. But each goal is based. Each goal that you have is, even if it's a revenue goal, even if the goal is based around revenue, I had to retract my statement. there is always sub goals that you have to hit to achieve those revenue goals. So, all right, the big number is we want $2 billion projected revenue this quarter. But that's going to say, all right, do we have to open up more stores? If we open up more stores, how do we market? Is there more employees? You need managers. You need operations. You need this, that, and the third. So all of those big goals ended up being, broken down to a bunch of smaller things. We just may not know what those smaller things are with some companies.
So when it comes to, I guess, we think about entrepreneurship and our businesses, where will it end?
Whenever you tell me to stop.
I tell you to stop all the time. What are you talking? I tell you to stop all the time. So I don't know if that's enough. So where would it end, and how do we adjust and realize? Because I think you were looking at the percentage of our cleaning business. If you didn't know, we have a cleaning business down here in Dallas, Texas. We also have a course that you can find on cleaningbusinessuniversity.com that teaches you how to open your own cleaning business without cleaning homes. And you're like, we've been percentage wise, I think you said we've been increasing every 100%. What was the number? It was something.
It was 100% year over year returns.
Year over year returns. So you're like, that's usually not normal.
Yeah.
So then, if we do 50%, did we fail?
Well, it depends on what you view as failure. Like normally, businesses don't grow 100% year over year. I think the pandemic year we did. I think we said
40.
Maybe around 30 to 40%. If every year you've done 100% and there's a pandemic and you do 40%, is that failure? Maybe. There could have been ways to continue to grow.
I have no issues.
You could have pivoted in different ways, but that could be failure to us. But some entrepreneurs would still, some business owners may say, all right, 40% is fantastic. When you start getting to multi-million dollars and you say 40%, you're still talking about a couple $100,000.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It's about $400,000 or $500,000 year over year, returns.
Yeah, and so even for our brand, the Hartzog, we're trying to double from last year. And we're like, why are we trying to double? If we look at it on the business standpoint, and realistically, how much do businesses realistically grow generally year over year? Or at some point they pivot, they stay the same.
Yeah, there's a lot of business plateau.
Plateau, that's the word I'm looking for.
Unless you innovate. So if you're talking about businesses like different ways to grow, you start like innovating product. So like Apple, they don't innovate unless they have an AirPod, which becomes its own product, and that became all.
Apple does innovate. You don't think they innovate?
Over the last couple years, their innovation was I'm giving you a 10 max, a 12, 11 max, a 12, 13, 14. Their products really haven't changed the game until they released a whole new AirPod system, which is like, all right, well, now this itself is its own product. It has its own market, has its own base.
Okay.
The iPads are
not
iPads.
Every year.
Yeah.
But you're saying like the year it came out would be innovation year, but not every year.
We talking about like, all right, if they release an autonomous car or something like that, or Apple, not just a TV service, but like an Apple TV itself.
Right.
That's a whole new product
Like
when you talk innovation.
And
the speaker didn't do well.
Okay, but it's innovation, no?
You bought me that speaker.
I know, we returned it. Because you were being a hater. You just didn't want to spend the money. It has nothing to do with it not being innovative.
No, I'm just saying, so that when you talk about businesses like that, that's how they continue to grow, when they release big products like that that innovate.
Okay.
They really just been sitting there. So that's how they kind of grow.
So then how would we, I say we because most of us are watching are probably not Apple or Google or Amazon. Yeah. So how would us as entrepreneurs, maybe starting out or just being in the business, how do we continue to innovate and grow then?
So it depends on your product or service, and you got to choose. I think you have to choose what is something you want to do. Like for us, our innovation comes from different ideas, different conversations we have, different networking, different things we listen to. So like, let's say the Hartzog itself was just, which it was just a paid way for us to follow our journey so that people could kind of check in with us. Like the Hartzog moved down to Dallas, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't a business. And the ways we innovated was, all right, well, we realized that people enjoyed the debt-free story. So we kind of pivoted to talking more about that. And then we started talking more about the financial side of things, where it's just not about debt, it's about raising your income. And it pivoted to the cleaning business, which turned into its whole other platform. So now you got the cleaning business, you got the Hartzog talking about the cleaning business. You got the cleaning business teaching people how to run and scale their six-figure cleaning businesses without cleaning houses, which is a product itself and a service, because you do one-on-ones, you do consultations. So now our next step would be, all right, do we start doing group coaching with that? So it's like, all right, we got the group coaching, we got the community as well. So we also have a $37 community. So now we're innovating different ways. We
month.
37. What I said?
You said $37, but it's my monthly fee. I want to make
$37
that's clear.
a month. So if you have the course, now you got a community, and we also do consultations. So those are ways you can innovate in a service-based business.
Yeah. And then same thing for the cleaning business. The ways that we innovate, I think, would be if you add maybe products to your website.
Oh, yeah.
That would be something in products such as maybe candles or rags or cleaning products and stuff like that. That would be something.
So if you do,
No, I was going to say revving up marketing wouldn't be innovative though.
No, unless you do different types of marketing.
That's true.
So with the cleaning business itself, like you mentioned, like if our search engine optimization guy, he runs our website and manages it. He's talking about, all right, if you want to kind of go into different markets, that would be another way you innovate too. So like, all right, you want to open up a spot in Atlanta. We've been talking about Atlanta for a while. If we come through,
don't start that this year. I don't have.
So now you're talking about opening different locations. So that's another way to kind of innovate your marketing and getting to that next level. If you're talking about, you mentioned products, and so now we're talking about candles, or we're talking about scents to leave in people's homes. If you start talking about commercial cleaning, something we've kind of played around with. So now you're doing commercial cleaning or COVID cleaning or something like that. So those are different ways to kind of market in that.
Okay.
But if you're talking about other businesses, it just depends on what type of business you have.
Is.
Yeah.
So the goal ain't going to stop. So the goal is going to continue to grow, is what you're saying.
Depends. So, like, let's talk about, like, Beyonce, for example. How do you feel like, what was her goal with her, I don't know, her Lemonade album, and how has she continued to change her strategies, I guess, that you've seen?
I think the goal changes, I think, as well for her, because she's been in the business so long, so it has to change.
She has to make it fun?
Or she has to go with the times.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, fun, go with the times, whatever the case may be. Or do something different. So the Lemonade album wasn't her first one.
I think that was probably
Beyonce was the first one. We was in Vegas, I remember that. They had videos for everything.
So that was the first way. So she had a goal. This kind of goes back to the whole, like, when is enough enough? So she's like, all right, I've done everything.
Yeah.
What else can I do? I'm going to drop an album without telling nobody about it. That was the first time that's probably ever happened, right?
From what I remember, yeah. Maybe from a big artist. Yeah, I don't know. No, nobody does that. Everybody markets.
So there was no marketing behind it. We were sitting down at dinner.
It was late. It was late, too. I remember
I was at my
Vegas.
bachelor. Was that a bachelor party?
I just said we were in Vegas. No, you wasn't at your bachelor party.
Wait, did somebody else drop an album randomly while I was at my bachelor party? At the
Lemonade
table?
actually came out at your bachelor party. So
she dropped the. So I'm watching
another one.
All right, so I'm gonna let you say this. There's 2 times she did it. Then
Beyonce came out when we were 20. It was we were 25.
Yeah.
I think we celebrated my 25th birthday in Vegas.
Okay,
that's when Beyonce came out, and that was the first time ever. She did a video for every song, and no one knew that this album was dropping. So that was at the age of my 25th. Now, your bachelorette, was April 2016. I think we knew Lemonade was coming out. I'm not sure I think we knew it was going to drop, but it dropped on like HBO or something. It became like a movie. Yeah. Which is a little different from just videos dropping. It was like a whole movie that came out. So yes, that was happening at your bachelorette. So that's how she changed it up at least. So she got to the point where she's done everything and her team is sitting there figuring out, all right, what is your next goal? Is it a revenue goal? At her point, it may not be a revenue goal. It may not be an impact goal. It may just be like, I'm bored. I want to do something different. I want to impact people in a different way. Impact is subjective, right? But I want to impact people in a different way. So she's like, all right, I'm gonna scare the crap out of you. I'm gonna give you an album without no marketing. And then so Lemonade as well. The reason why it was so big as well is because it was the first album or first time of her kind of speaking or doing anything after the whole incident with Jay-Z in the elevator. Yeah. So that's also could be a marketing as well. I mean, I'm sure marketing is good and bad. There's good and bad of marketing. Yeah. And that's also probably why the album became its own thing as well. Yeah. They're like, oh, she's talking. We haven't heard from her in a while. Yes, or singing now about whatever else. So you got her and her team sitting there in a meeting, like, how can we change the game? Like what Jay-Z did it with not to me talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce the whole time, but Jay-Z did it with the cell phone thing with Samsung. Sprint. His album just came on the
Sprint did it, and they also dropped it on the Android phones or something like that. Or
No,
they didn't drop it on
the iPhone. I don't remember. It was in your something. It was in your.
So
it was just there.
So Jay-Z did it as well when he said, "I'm going to sign this deal with Sprint. If you got Sprint, whatever plan it was, you're gonna have this album on your phone automatically to take him to $1 million to take him to 1 million downloads immediately, make him instantly platinum. I think he was the fastest platinum artist."
Maybe at that time.
Maybe at
now
that
we
time.
Got
you got NFTs and you got
we got the
Tory
Doja
Lanez
Cats
who did
and,
it.
other people out there.
So you got these people who have grand goals and it's like, how can I change the game? What's next for me? I'm bored. That's kind of going back to the money heisting. She was bored. It's like, what's my next goal? How can I change the game? So she dropped the album, no marketing.
No marketing. But who she is at this point, she can do.
Yeah, so
like
she
that.
dropped that album with no marketing. She also dropped an album with visuals, like immediate visuals.
Visuals,
a whole
right
movie.
away. Yep.
And then she did a whole parade. What would you call
Not a
that?
parade. Coachella you talking about?
Yeah, like that was. I never seen anything like that before either.
No, I know. It's not a. You said parade.
Well, wasn't that a parade?
I mean, it was a performance, but yeah, it was over the top. But
So how many hours was that?
3.
That was a 3-hour performance, and her movie itself around that was.
It was a movie itself around that, and that was another innovative thing. Just the way the whole performance, seeing the back end of it, using college students and all that type of stuff like that. So yeah. I guess when you speak about it, goals can be about reinventing and being innovative as well. But I think most of the time when we think about it in the entrepreneurship world, people are mostly thinking about it being financial. Like, okay, that's the only thing you usually hear maybe on social media. That's the only thing that people kind of, I don't know if it's the only thing, but maybe that's the thing that people listen out to the most or pay attention the most. Because there's more to it, right? Like we have, I don't know, I have to pull it up.
While you're pulling it up, I think it could be both though.
With our goals,
I think it could be financial. I think the impact, you could have the financial goal, but the impact could be simultaneously happening along with that.
Definitely.
So when she's talking about this lemonade tour and she's doing the stomp in the yard stuff, she's also impacting HBCUs. She's impacting, black colleges, different colleges around the world that may not be HBCUs that have black students. You got alphas, you got different Greeks, you got all these people seeing this black experience. So yeah, the revenue, the goal could have been, I'm bored, I want to change the game, but then she's also impacting people, which also impacted her revenue. Because I feel like the more people you're able to impact, that's going to impact your bottom line immediately.
Of course. Impact. Definitely, I was gonna say impacts your revenue, but I don't want to use the same word twice, but it's true. But when we do our like personal goals, we do different pillars. So we don't just do financial. Some of our pillars are.
Was that this conversation?
Huh?
Was that this conversation?
Yeah, just naming some of them. Some of our pillars, not our full goals.
Okay.
Finances, spiritual, business. And what else did we do? Financial, spiritual, businesses. We also do. I'm trying to find it in our thing. Sorry.
You gotta zoom out probably.
Yeah. Intellectual, family, physical. So I think that when you're thinking about goals and when you're thinking about just it not just being, okay, how do I not just make it enough, or why isn't it enough for me? Maybe expanding to other things as well. That's what I would suggest. But something that I thought about also is a good example of when it's not enough is retirement. Right? So you work for 40 years, you wait for the big day, you retire, and then you say, what now?
Yeah.
You may be excited for a month or 2 months, and then you have to go retire again. Not retire, you go back to work. Because you want something to do. Not like the same type of 9 to 5, but you want something to do. So it's like, I don't know if goals are, depending on what your goals are, or how big they are, how small they are, if they're ever enough. I don't know if we have, I said that at the beginning. I don't know if we have the answer by the end of this podcast, but I don't know if goals are ever enough, simply because we always just want more in life.
You should.
You think your goal is, okay, if I get a 6-figure job, 100,000, then that would be enough. Then after a while, you're like, well, I would like 120. And I want 150, things like that. So I don't know that and how do you stop that mentality?
I don't think I think goals are meant to be broken. If you don't want to achieve, you don't want to set goals, and if you don't want to break these goals, you shouldn't be setting them. Or you set goals high enough that can't be broken, at least immediately. So now you got something that you're always chasing. So like going back to what you said about the financial aspect with just making money. So like I remember when I made $60,000, my my job out of college a couple years, and I was just so excited. I'm making $60,000. Oh my God! And I'm talking to some of my older fraternity brothers, and they're like, "That's dope. Keep going. Keep going." And I'm like, "Nah, man, you don't hear me. I'm out here in these streets now. Like, I'm making this money." And it's like,
I mean, 60,000 out of college. Well, you said a few years. This is college, but still. Depending on your career, that's a good salary.
So I'm talking to them and I'm like, I got this money. Like, all right, it's like, just keep going, bro. You gonna like keep doing your thing. And then I realized that was not enough. So then it went to like 7.
But the question is like, what made it not enough? Was it just like, I need to make more money? Did your expenses grow?
I think all people, you get that first check and you like, well, what happened? And at that point, I was out of college, so I knew the tax situation. But it's like, all right,
tax situation.
Yeah, I was like, I understand that, but it's like, well, and I got rent. Rent's a lot different in New York City. I got to pay for my food, my housing, my clothing. It's a little bit different. So now I was like, well, I really don't got 60,000. I was excited, and I don't got that anymore.
Oh no.
So then it's like, all right, it went to like 70 or something, and I'm like, that's not enough. And I knew that 100,000 was going to be enough. I was like, once I get to 100,000, I'm set. I'm lit.
That's the thing. Being in New York, not to say you can't live. Obviously, you could live off of 100,000, but it's not as much as you think after taxes. So if it's $100,000 salary, you're probably really getting take home of 70.
So I got that 100,000, and I'm like, all right, this is it. I'm set. I'm lit. And I was like, well, 100,000 is still not enough. I still got my goals are much bigger than 100,000. So when you go and have conversations with your managers and your bosses, and you're like, well, we're paying you good money, and you start realizing that good money is relative, and also that good money that you thought was good enough for you is not good enough for me.
Right.
So that would be the difference.
That's true. That's a good one, because you said that you said that before, that when you were working, like management would say maybe to you or just other people that work outside of the job, like, don't we pay them enough? Like, why are they working outside of work?
Yeah, you shouldn't. I mean, you shouldn't have to do things like that.
Yeah.
I would hope that everybody can make the money that they want to make in their job.
But that's not the reality.
And at the end of the day, they're still not able to pay you that. But it was always like, all right, well, we're gonna give this person a couple $1,000 raise, and I'm like, sure, if that makes them happy, go for it. But at the end of the day, if they have goals that they want to achieve, or they got things they want to do, they always gonna say that's not enough. And I always used to tell people, like, when we have these one-on-one end of year conversations, do not sit there and tell me that you're happy with the money we're giving you if you are not happy, because you have to be able to tell me this is not enough for me. And at some point, you got to realize what is enough and what isn't. And if your manager comes to you and gives you this raise or this bonus, and you say, I'm not happy, or this is not enough, be free with that answer.
That 3% that they give you.
I mean, inflation's been like 7% this year. So
well, jobs ain't giving no 7%.
Exactly. So I told my team all the time, like, before we have this conversation at the end of the year, if you're not comfortable with that number, tell me in that conversation. Don't come back to me a month later. Don't come back to me 2 months later.
I gotta think about it. I gotta go home and ask my husband, am I comfortable with this number?
Okay, all right. Come back to me tomorrow. But you have to be able to say, this is not enough, or this is enough for me and I'm happy. And I think you gotta realize that even in your entrepreneurship journeys, what's enough for you and what isn't.
So for us, what is enough for us? What would you say? What is our big number?
There is no big number. Enough? $1 billion.
Wow. Okay.
$1 billion. And then you get there and you're like, well, okay, that was cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. You accomplish it and you don't. Let me bring it back to, we have a whiteboard that we always talk about having a whiteboard so you can see your goals. And we had a goal of making 100K in a month. And we said, if we make the 100K in a month, we'll get some of the things that we wanted on our whiteboard, which was one was your Rolex, which you didn't get because you don't be getting none. One was my Cartier love bracelet, which I did get because I get what I what I put down. And we said that once we hit that goal, like, that would be unbelievable. Once we do that, there's no way. It's a life-changing month. Did it feel life-changing to you?
Nope.
I think you told me, and I was like, okay.
We erased it off the board, and it's like, all right, well, cool.
Yeah, we were like, okay. And I know that some people listening were like, nah, that's just you. Because if that happened for me, most people would be like, if that happened for me, then I would be feeling ecstatic. And I remember I used to say that when we first got into this space too, when we hit like a $5,000 month, a $10,000 month, we're like, wow, this is crazy. And then now months, if we have like a $40,000, we're like, yeah, this is low. This is not it.
And I know you hear these numbers and you're like, well, is that what you take home? We took home 90,000 that month, something like that.
Yeah.
So it was, Was it life changing? I think the experience itself, what we learned, what it took us to get to that.
Yes.
What the amount of work, the amount of planning, the amount of effort. That's gonna be a whole episode in itself. One day, hopefully. But what it took us to get there, yeah, it changed us, and I think that was more. I think that was more exciting than actually hitting the goal itself, because it was like when you paid off the debt. It was like, all right, cool, the debt's paid off. Now you think about what is next for you.
That's the interview question that people always ask. How did it feel to pay it off? We're like, we just paid it and kept it moving. We didn't.
Yeah.
And is that on us, or is that is that a personal thing, or is that how most humans operate? That once you hit it, like once you get that new job, you're excited, and then.
I think that's how humans operate. If you think about that, let's say for guys, an example, you chasing this girl your whole life. It was like Steve and we talking about Family Matters. Steve and Laura. Mm-hmm. He was chasing her his whole life. He's like, this is really you, huh? And this is not Urkel, Steve Urkel. We're talking about Steven Q Urkel. When she finally realized that he was the guy he was, and Steven
because Myra wanted him. That's the only reason.
So when he finally got Myra, I was like, okay, well, I mean, I said Myra, right? Yeah.
You mean when you finally got Laura?
Laura. When you finally got Laura, I was like, all right, cool. Well, we're here. Here we are.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
It's like, what's next?
So I think that's a human feature that we have, and I think all humans should always be striving.
Yeah.
But then you don't want to overextend yourself to the point where it's no longer productive, and you start placing yourself in harm, like me in the gym. Like I mentioned earlier in the conversation.
But I think the thing is, like, yeah, it didn't feel different, but we still celebrated in that. Okay, I got my bracelet. Like I got something that I said I wanted. If we hit that, right? Yeah. So it's not that we don't celebrate at all now. I'm just saying it doesn't always feel how you think it will, right? And like, I talk about if ever I'm able, I always say in my afterlife, I'm going to get a Bentley. And I say afterlife because I'm like, I don't imagine in this life I'm affording a Bentley, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, if ever I get a Bentley, is it going to be enough, or is it going to feel like, all right, I got it?
I think when you get the Bentley, it's going to be like, I got the Bentley, cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's next? First you wanted your Maxima.
I never wanted a Maxima. I had a Maxima. I think nothing wrong with Maximas, but I never said like.
No, you had an Ultima.
I had an Ultima.
You had an Ultima. Then your next logical step would have been a Maxima.
Yeah, that's the step up.
So you should still get your Maxima.
I'm beyond that at that point.
Exactly.
I don't want it.
That goes back to the conversation. Like we're always going to the next thing. So you got the should have been an Ultima, should have been a Maxima. Then now you wanted an Audi.
Yes.
And then it was a Tesla.
Yes.
Then it was a G-Wagon.
Yeah, I'm between the three.
And then it was a Bentley. It was a Bentley?
Bentley is my afterlife car. So before I get to the Bentley, I have to get either G-Wagon, a Tesla, or Audi. One of those things first.
But why can't you just be where you are?
I mean, I can. I've been surviving for 2-3 years without any of that. So technically, I can be where I am.
Yeah.
But I think as you grow, as you make more money, as you have more experiences, you want bigger things that you probably never had access to. And that I think is part of the goals changing as well. You get access to different things that you never had access, never thought that you would have access to. So when you do, and it's not like a money pincher or anything, you're like, oh, okay, so I can have that. I want it then.
It's like flying first class, putting yourself in that experience.
Right.
And then once you get in that experience, you realize this is a lot better than I thought it would be. I want to experience this more often. So now you do things to make sure that you can always afford being in first class, so that you could put your feet up, you could get your peanuts, you could get your pillow, your blanket. And you're like, now I don't want anyone sitting to the right side of me or whatever it may be. So you always make sure that you have the means to put yourself in that experience.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it with the goals.
Yeah. So let's say another example of that would be, all right, kids. So we have one kid. Kid turns out great so far. So far things are well. And you get to a different place in your life where, let's say you're not as active or we're not traveling as much. And then you're like, all right, well, maybe we have another kid. Is that how kids happen? People start settling down more? Like, I want another kid?
I don't know, because people just be wanting kids. So
it's usually women, though.
That want kids?
Yeah, it's like...
No, it's not usually women. What type of sexist comment is that?
It's usually women that want more kids. Like, oh, I'm feeling like the kid leaves the nest or something like that, and it's like, I want.
Well, usually people ain't waiting that long. Kids ain't leave the nest for 18 years.
They start doing their own thing as a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been in that boat of wanting more kids, so I couldn't even tell you. But I know a lot of men that just want kids, and I don't know why. But yes, I think that's the same thing that with the goal changing. Like you may have said, like, okay, I just want one kid, and then the kid comes, and you're like, okay, well, maybe 2 more or 1 more. So it's just ever
because your circumstances begin to change.
Your
at that
circumstances. That's what I'm saying. Your circumstances change. Same thing. What I'm saying, like when you start to get the money and stuff like that. That those things change, and so then you feel more comfortable to have access to these other things.
Okay.
So, but thank you.
I think that was a good
Maybe you have an answer. Maybe you have an answer as to why the goals are never enough. Once you reach it, why is it never enough? Maybe you have an answer. Write it in the comments when you leave us a rating as to what you think.
I think that was a good conversation where we talk about just entrepreneurship and just business, or just life in general.
Life, yeah.
You know, is enough ever enough? And it may not be. It may not be. We may say, all right, we want to end with this podcast. We may say, all right, the next step from the podcast is now, all right, we want our own podcasting studio or digital studio or something like that. And now we got other people who podcast come into our studio. Yeah. Or we say, oh, we want to turn into a media company. You never know.
And you want a house that's a 4-bedroom. Then you want a house that's a 6-bedroom. Then you want like it just keeps going. It doesn't end. It literally doesn't end in different aspects of your life. It literally doesn't end.
Exactly.
So. But thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you like. Make sure that you share, download. If you're watching us on YouTube, hello.
What's up? What's up?
So, yes, that's it on our part.
All the links to everything that we spoke about today. If you're interested in Cleaning Business University, how to start a 6-figure cleaning business without cleaning houses, that link will be in the show notes. It is right there below this video. If you're interested in our virtual assistant business, you have a cleaning business and you want to scale and you want to grow, but you don't want to answer the phones. You don't want to do the customer service. You don't want to talk to that angry client.
You don't want to do hiring.
You don't want to do any of that stuff. Ziggy VA, that link is in the show notes as well. And follow us on Instagram at the Hartrimony, HARTRIMONY, and the Hartzog Hustle Podcast. Appreciate you guys being here. See you guys next week. Peace.
Bye.
This has been an episode of the Hartzog Hustle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite listening platform. And follow Anthony and Janilka on Instagram at The Hartrimony. That's TheHartrimony. Keep hustling, baby. Keep hustling, baby.
Get that money. Get that money.